Hi, this video is an explanatory video for one of the assignments that you're going to be doing this semester, and the assignments are case briefs. This semester, you're going to be writing 5 case briefs starting in about March of the semester. And I just wanted to do a little video so that you have an idea of what a case brief is, what are the components that are included in a case brief. And then I also want to draw your attention to an example of a case brief that was like an A case brief from a previous semester. So let me go ahead and share my screen so I can show you where on Canvas you can find this information. Okay, so here we are on our Canvas site. If you go to assignments, you click on assignments, you're going to be able to see all the assignments for the semester. And so why don't we just start there, okay? And we'll scroll down to the assignment for the case briefs, okay? And so you'll see here that there are 5 case briefs that you're going to be doing through the course of the semester. So let's click on the first one that is due March 8th. So you still have some time. But I thought that this would just be a useful explanatory video before you get started on working on them. And so let's click on that. And basically, I'll leave it to you to read the assignment, but I'll try to summarize the assignment for you here. And so when you take a look at the assignment, it will tell you what the purpose of the a case brief is. And then it says that there are some instructions that you should follow for the case brief, and that includes reading through the components of the case brief, which we'll do in a second. And then it will list the cases that are eligible for case brief 1. Okay, so the first civil liberties that we take a look at this semester is religious liberties. And so when you do this case brief, you're choosing one of the cases that you're going to read during the section having to do with religious freedoms. Okay. And then it tells you what the formatting of it is, and then how your case brief will be evaluated. And then also towards the end here, it shows you the rubric that I used to grade the case brief. So make sure that you take a look at the rubric, because looking at the rubric tells you like the components that I'm looking for. So I'll leave it to you to look through the details of the rubric, because that'll give you a really good sense of how your case brief is going to be graded. Let me stop the share here for a second and just bring it back. Okay, so basically what a case brief is it's a summary of the opinion of the Supreme Court on a particular case. And so, throughout the course of the semester, we're going to be reading and learning about a lot of different, Supreme Court cases that deal with civil liberties. And so, when a case comes to the Supreme Court, they hear oral arguments. You'll be learning about that this semester. And then after they hear the arguments, then they decide how they're going to rule in that case, what their decision in the case is. And then, that for a Supreme Court decision, there is the opinion of the court. It's sometimes known as the majority opinion. And so that there are 9 justices on the Supreme Court. And so a decision could be unanimous. It could be 9 that support the opinion of the court, and 0 that don't support it, right? So there are no dissenters. We don't get a lot of 9-0 decisions in the Supreme Court. And so that the majority opinion has to have at least 5 of the 9 justices for it to be considered the opinion of the court. But then there are sometimes people who, if it's a 5-4 decision, there might be 4 people who don't agree, 4 justices who don't agree with the opinion. And then those are called the dissenting opinions. So you have the opinion of the court. It's also known as the majority opinion. But then if you don't agree with the opinion you're a justice, you might write a dissenting opinion explaining why you don't agree with the holding in this case. And then there are also these opinions called concurring opinions. And so concurring opinions means that a justice agrees with the ruling in this case, in the specific case that the court is ruling upon, but that they agree with the general opinion, but they might have come to support that opinion through a different sort of reasoning or logic, right? And so they might say, we agree with the opinion of the court that, like using a right to privacy case, that the right to privacy says that people can use contraceptives. Okay, we're going to be learning about that later in the semester. But you might say, you know what, the court thinks that the right to privacy is found in the Ninth Amendment. That's what's in the majority opinion. But I don't agree with that. I think the right to privacy is seated in within the 14th Amendment. Okay, so that would be a concurring opinion. They say, hey, I agree that you have a right to privacy and it covers contraceptives, but I think we should find that right to privacy in the 14th Amendment, not the Ninth Amendment. That would be a concurring opinion. So when you're doing a case brief, basically, well, in class, you'll be reading excerpts from the opinion of the court, concurrent opinions, and dissenting opinions. And basically what a case brief is a summary of the court decision, so that you will talk about what the facts of the case are. You talk about the question that's before the court, and then you would summarize the majority opinion, the opinion of the court, and then you would also summarize the concurring opinions, the dissenting opinions. And then at the very end of the case brief, you get an opportunity to analyze the decision and talk about whether or not you agree with the majority opinion of the court. Okay. So let's go back to the Canvas site and let's take a look at the components of the case brief, and what the purpose of the case brief is that it's a good handy tool to refer to if you want to refresh yourself on a particular case. If any of you go to law school, you basically write case briefs while you're at law school. And then you just, put them in a binder. And then, if you ever need to, you become a judge or a lawyer and you need to refer to a Supreme Court case, you've got a handy case brief there. So it's like basically a summary of what the court said, what the question was before the court, and how the court ruled. So let's go back to sharing the screen and we'll take a look at the components of the case brief. So if you click here, components of the case brief, okay, that it's there that you're going to see like what are the actual components included in a case brief. And then before we take a look at those components, why don't I show you an example of a case brief? Because that way you'll sort of see how a case brief is organized and all the components that it includes. And so where is the example here? It might be, looks like it's on the previous page. So let me go back there. Okay, here's where you're going to find the case brief example. Okay, so, and actually let's download it and then we can bring it up and we can take a look at it. Okay, so I really encourage you to take a look at the sample case brief. And this case, United States versus Alvarez, is not a case that you can do for the class because it's used as an example. And so this is a good visualization of the components of the case brief. And it does need to be formatted this way. The very top that you're going to put the title of the citation of the Supreme Court case. We'll talk more about that in a second. And then first you tell me, you write what the facts of the case are. The facts of the case are basically what happened in a particular case, like what's the question that's coming before the court, and so the background of the case, and then the question that's before the court, the holding in the case, and so that if the question before the court, and this has to do with the Stolen Valor Act and whether that or not that act of Congress violates the free speech clause. That the Supreme Court found, yes, it does. And then that it was a 6-3 decision, and then the reasoning. And so then you'll see that the opinion of the court, the majority opinion, you'll tell me who it was written by. And then basically, and others who joined, other justices who joined in on the majority opinion. And then as you see here, the student outlined the reasoning of the case. And then if there are concurring opinions, you say who wrote it and whether or not justices joined in the writing of that opinion. And then you outline it there. And then if there are dissents, as there were, so this is a good example, it says who wrote it and what other justices signed on or agreed with the dissenting opinion. And then it summarizes the reasoning and the dissenting opinion. And then the final component of the case brief is the analysis. And it's there that you got to explain whether like the importance of the case, the importance of the decision, what it tells us in this case about the First Amendment, the freedom of speech clause. And then you get to tell me whether or not you agree with that case. Okay. And so make sure you take a look at that example, because it basically outlines, what my expectations are um, uh, in terms of the uh, the case brief. But if we go back to take a look at the components of the case brief, this is basically just a written summary of the components. So it tells you what a case brief is, so you'll read that. It tells you where to find the cases. And hey, do you have to find them on your own? And the answer to that is no. All of the case briefs are based on the case decisions that you're going to be reading in your textbook. So as it says there, no outside research is required for case briefs. You use the decisions that are in the textbook. And your case brief needs to be in your own words. You need to summarize the facts, even though the facts of the case are sometimes offered in the textbook. You need to summarize them, and you summarize the reasoning of the court as well. And if you ever do use a direct quote from the decision, you'll want to put that direct quote in quotation marks, and then reference the page number from the textbook that you got it from. Case briefs are not long. That, as you saw with that example, it was about 2 pages long. They are single spaced. They must be single spaced, and they really shouldn't be longer than 3 pages. And then here it goes through the components. And I won't read through these. I'm just drawing your attention to them so that you can read them on your own. You need a title and citation, the facts of the case, and it explains what the facts of the case are. It gives you an example from Roe v. Wade. You can't do your case on Roe v. Wade in this class either, since it's used as an example. Talks about the legal issue, the holding, the reasoning, and then the analysis. Okay. And so let me stop the share there. So that just again kind of covers what's included in a case brief. And also it shows you the rubric that gives you an idea of how I'm going to be grading your case brief. Okay. So I know it's early in the semester, so you won't be writing a case brief for a while, but I wanted to make this explanatory video so that when it comes to writing case briefs, you'll be all ready to go. If you have any questions about the case brief, don't hesitate to come by office hours or to drop me a text or an email. I'd be happy to help. Okay. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon.